Okay, next step in our build is going to be to do the hinges for the ailerons. As you can see, we just have our carbon fiber glued in. Just flip the plane over is all I've done. Go ahead, cut a slit with a X-Acto knife or something here in the latter part of the fuselage, and just slide this right in and push it back. Then all you'll do is just use a little glue and glue that right back together. Then when you hinge your rudder onto it, it'll even give it more strength. But don't cut it in the thin part here. Actually cut it where you have some meat. The glue, the more surface area to glue, the better. So what we'll do is we need welded. I like to use welder glue or hot glue, either one. You need something that's flat, so flatten out the glue. And what I like to do, especially having the cardboard, is I like to use some pins to pin everything down. These are just little T-pins. You can use any kind of pins or needles or anything. And all I do is just go and pin the plane down. And also, you can kind of use how far you press the pins down to help line everything up with your heights and everything. So this actually works really well. Especially if you're going to kind of be pushing around the foam a little bit. So it just keeps everything in one place. Nice and easy, which is how we like it. So this method works with hot glue the exact same way. The only thing different from using the welder versus the hot glue is with the hot glue you want to just do like 3 to 5 inches with like a 1/8 bead. With the welder glue, unfortunately they have a wide tip, so it kind of leaves you got to be real careful to try to get it thin, but you just do the best you can. And all you do, in this case, we'll just start with this side here. All you're going to do is just put a little bead down. And take your, this is a popsicle stick that's just been cut into pieces. And all you're going to do is take that popsicle stick and flatten that bead out as thin as you can get it. It's really that simple. You don't want to make this too thick. The thicker you make it, the harder it'll actually be to move that control surface. So nice and thin. And go on to the next one. Use this method on several airplanes. Even use it on my Superfly, which gets beat up pretty good. Thing is flat into everything, and I've never had to fix the hinges yet. This works really well. So again, just flatten it out. And that's it, and that's all it takes. Whenever I've done, I like to just double check all my heights, make sure everything looks like it's nice and the same level. That's kind of where the pins come in. Do a really good job of that. Alright, come around and pin the other side. So we'll go ahead and come around. Do the exact same thing. Just pin this wing down. Just line up our aileron. Now, when you do this, you may notice with this EPP, even though you may make perfect cuts on the bevels, or in the case like this kit, the bevel's already done for you, you may have gaps sometimes. That's okay. As a matter of fact, a lot of times they'll move even that much easier with just a slight gap. But what you don't want is to really push the EPP together. You actually want it really thin, or the very, very slightest bit of a gap. So go ahead. Try to stay out of the way. You can see it. You can see I'm just trying to put down a very thin bead, which, like I said, with this wide tip is not always easy to do. Yeah, just as soon as you can, come back and just flatten that right out. And that's it. That's all it takes. And again, I'll kind of use the pins to get the height that I want. And try to show that one more time. And this works the same for the rudder. Works exactly the same way. Again, slightest gap is okay. Try to do it from this side so you can see it better. And you could use a razor blade, a flat razor blade for this method. Anything flat, it does not matter what it is. Anything will work. Just try to keep it nice and thin. And then last, come back after you've done that, make sure everything is nice and level. And that looks good. So that's it for that step. Now, what you can do here while this is drying is if you want to just lay either a really thin bead along the fuselage here on each side, you can. It's completely up to you. Again, it will add weight, but it does add a little bit of rigidity. So this plane's really good for learning 3D, and you can make this plane really flexible, and that's fine. But you can also, if you decide to, the way that this is built, it's still really easy to learn 3D. We'll also do snap rolls and maneuvers like that really well, so you can actually do a lot of different things with this plane, with this particular setup. Just make sure to keep this very thin. That little bead will add a lot of rigidity. The nice thing about EPP foam as well is if you do crash and break a chunk out of it, it's when you glue it back, that chunk back in it, you typically can't even see where it was.